author of several books in and about Mystic and other areas, and I'm having my show, Dreamers and Doers, today, and I have a special guest who has an interest that I share, which is books. And some of my upcoming events are on Saturday, October 5th. I'll be speaking about Martha Washington, her life, what she did with the troops. She did suffer and go hungry with them and helped and nursed them during difficult winters like Valley Forge. That's a fundraiser for the Connecticut Daughters of the American Revolution, and that's October 5th, 2 to 4. On Saturday, October 12th, I'll be at the Groton Fall Festival with my children's novel, Ride a Horse, Not an Elevator, with funds benefiting the Brook Farm Equine Rescue, Beach Brook Farm, and you did see them last week. And November 7th is going to be a particular interest to writers. That's Thursday, November 7th, and I'm having a writers open mic at the Groton Library because musicians often have their 3 minutes of glory up in front of an audience, but writers really do need an audience. I think it helps them become better writers when they can feel the audience's reaction, and it's a great way for people to network with each other. And this is why I am having my special guest on here today, Christopher Jones of the Monte Cristo BookShop of New London.
How are you doing?
Good. I was so excited that you opened a bookshop with bookshops closing all over the place. How is it that you even thought you would go into this difficult business?
First off, I love having a bookshop. and I like it when the naysayers, come out for whatever reason. There's always a reason you can't do something. You can't do this, you can't do that.
But you are a dreamer and you did it. But
yeah,
you did it.
Something like that, yeah. We've been going, we're 9 months open now. They say if you make it a year, you've beaten what 3/4 of businesses cannot do.
Is a year? I thought the magic number was 80% went out in 2 years. Am I wrong about that?
I
can't
don't
remember.
They come up
it's
with
a high
numbers,
figure.
These,
I mean, it's
these
difficult.
are the same people that tell you a business plan alone will get you a loan. Mm-hmm. Which just isn't true.
Okay.
But doing retail in this day and age.
So how did you do it? Like how, because you obviously, you're taking a risk, but you love books, and I can tell.
Yeah.
I've done a couple events at your bookshop, and I have to say you really do promote your authors.
We do. We do. Yeah, it's authors
great.
are the lifeblood of the store. They create the product that's on our shelves.
So how did that happen that you wanted to do that? Or where did you come from? What did you do before this?
Well, before the bookstore, had a long life, Lisa, but it feels like a lot more.
Are we allowed to know how old you are? Okay, I won't tell. You've had this long life. Okay, what have you done?
You know what? I'm in my early 30s.
Okay, so what did you do in this long life before?
Well, I was involved with music.
Yeah.
I was a musician for a while. I grew up in East Lyme, Connecticut.
Okay.
I was born in New London. I went to East Lyme High School. I graduated in 1999.
So you know that. So you really know this area.
Yeah,
then.
I know it pretty well. It's
Okay.
it's like one big town to me, really. It's, there's a lot of small communities within the town. But when I graduated, they actually let me poke holes in my graduation hat to fit my mohawk because I was the only punk rocker, right? So it's God bless those teachers. But I was everybody's friend. I was an individual. I always stuck out. And East Lyme at that time, they wanted to promote the individualism of people. So they kind of let me do that. And look what we did. We graduated our punk rocker. Why can't you do it, Montville?
So did you play music?
Yes, I played music. I played guitar, wrote songs. Music was like rock and roll type stuff. I got into punk rock, obviously. And that really touched me. It felt like folk music in a way. It was the music of the people. It wasn't what was on the radio.
Right.
And it made me feel like empowered. Like I had discovered something. I discovered an underground music scene full of kind of outcasts like me. I always felt different than everybody.
Which I guess writers do and artists do.
Oh, yeah.
Anybody that does
anything
that puts
in their own
their
head.
soul out there, and it's not like
But
everybody else's
music
soul.
was a love for me.
Yeah. But then how'd you get, because you got into publicity, right? Is that how you made your living?
Well, what happened is I didn't go to college. I just wasn't sure what I wanted to do, but the music was a lot of fun, but I wanted to take it up another notch, so I got into touring and traveling around the country. I realized if
so you were touring
I was playing, yes.
Okay.
And I realized that I wanted to do this all the time. I want to, it's a love, it's a passion.
Right.
It's idealistic. There doesn't need to be a logical reason behind it. I just love to do it. But in my touring, I found other musicians that were very, very talented. They're very good, and they weren't touring. And I thought, if the shoe was on the other foot, if they were doing the tour that I was doing with my band, they would be breaking it in. They'd be doing a lot better than us. I mean, we were good, but there were some really...
So you were noticing good talent that wasn't promoting themselves.
Yeah, they weren't really doing really well. They said, well, then, if we can do so well in Columbus, book us in Columbus. And I thought, I could book other musicians on the road.
Okay.
And that got me into a whole other world where I was booking tours. I ended up working for a talent agency. And then
Is that what you do? Like you went and applied for a talent agency?
No.
Or how does...
No, there were friends of mine that had one, and they had extra bands, and they had extra work to get done, and they kind of gave it to me. And so how it would work is that bands that wanted to go out on the road, I would evaluate them, kind of like a gatekeeper to the road, and I would tell them, well, yes or no.
Okay.
And I told no probably 90% of the time.
Oh, you did? All right. So then you would book them, and I'm just kind of curious, how did you get paid? A percent?
You get paid a percentage.
Of what
a booking agent would get paid a percentage of what the band makes every single night, and the tour manager that's out with them would funnel that money back home.
Okay, so it's sort of like literary agent, kind of, except this is
different,
per gig.
except
it's not a lifelong
Well, when you go
contract.
to give like a reading, you don't have to carry like all your gear in a van with 6 crew, your lighting.
No, so it's a lot to keep track of.
The logistics of it were probably more difficult than the actual booking, because once you met the talent buyers at the club and build a relationship with them, I didn't meet a lot of these people, all email.
Okay.
Once you got a relationship going with them, you could book other acts there. The hard part was the logistics. The hard part was figuring out what the band's going to need to stay on the road for 30 days. And then when the tour kicked off, you had to keep track of it. Every other day the tour manager would report back to you, what's going on. At one point I had 4 tours at the same time. And
so that's your phone's going off constantly.
Oh yeah. I was living on this.
Right. Well, yeah, because all the things that can and do go wrong.
Absolutely. Especially with musicians who aren't the most socially professional people. They don't really have to be. They have handlers. I mean, it's a lot of them do. A lot of them are just the drummer for the band. He's a really talented drummer. He's kind of a jerk. That happens a lot.
Right. Like you might not always be reliable unless you're telling him you got to be there at this time and that kind of thing.
Yeah, and of course I would throw myself onto the tours. Are you kidding?
Right.
Sending these guys around the road.
Well, because you love to be in front of people. Like I kind of got a kick out of when I did my first event with you. I didn't realize that you're up there with me. Usually I have to carry the whole show when I give a talk, and you're up there with your little mic asking questions, and I thought, wow, he loves this.
Well, with the author events that we do at the store, I feel that sometimes the authors are pushed into a very deep pool, and they're trying to swim, and I want to minimize the awkward moments that the author's having in front of the crowd because they're in front of a crowd.
Right.
Any social anxiety or nervousness they have. If I don't know an author, really well at that point, I'm going to get up there with them and talk. And it's a lot of fun too, because I know a lot of the people in the crowd. I know my customers.
Right.
And sometimes I feel like it's like my own talk show. I feel like
I could tell. Like I felt like I was on your talk show, not that I was the author.
Like I should get a couch and a desk.
I know. And you did the all asking me questions from your notebook,
absolutely.
And now I know the truth about your notebook.
Yeah. Oh, hey. Well, the questions that I ask are, there's some structure to the madness. It's structured fun.
Right.
To a degree.
Well, you did. You asked me some probing questions. Some I didn't like. Whoa, you caught me off guard.
So we can segue off the musician thing. Is the one thing that I really learned in working with musicians is I had to take people that were not used to being in any sort of professional environment or any kind of structured environment and put them in a structure.
Right.
Usually going on a tour is like the first big structured thing that a musician does, where they have to be at bus call at 8 o'clock, they have to be at the venue at a certain time. There's all sorts of personalities on the road, and many people don't adapt very well to that.
Mm-hmm.
So some people, I'd say, every band needs a counselor on the road. Usually that becomes the tour manager, and they'll say, I'm the babysitter, I'm the counselor, I'm the drill sergeant, But I definitely learned. I met a lot of people that were, they were pursuing their passions. They're on tour. They're not just a band playing a couple shows a month. They are actually full-fledged musicians doing nothing but being a musician with their life. And most of them were absolutely enthusiastic about it. And that enthusiasm brings out a sense of like recklessness, when you're just giddy, you know, and you're just so happy, you feel like you're untouchable, like you're invincible, you know, you're like, oh, I'm in Europe, wow, I didn't pay for this, you know, like,
I didn't pay to be here.
Like it just, so a lot of musicians are just happy all the time, but it brings out their personalities, and when dealing with the publishing industry, I noticed right away, I saw similarities in certain personalities, how seriously someone took themselves, or how, you know, you treat everyone professionally at first, and then you develop personal relationships with those that you have a lot in common with. But you should still be able to keep your professional relationship going with them, you know, and I say working with those kind of musicians, it kind of prepared me for anything. So when we have these authors come in the store, you can switch gears very quickly. You can go from a murder mystery to a guy who was actually murdered. You know, like you can go right from a serious subject to a funny subject to a kid's book. There's a lot of switching gears that happen in the bookstore, and I got to say that lifestyle and doing that for work really prepared me for that.
Well, I would think so. Like I said, I could just tell that you've been up in front of people, organizing gigs, promoting, because you do a lot of promotion when your authors come. I see it on Facebook, on your website. Do you do more on Facebook more than anything,
you know,
would you say?
I treat the store like it's a band. That's my That's my way of doing it. There's flyers. There's a logo, it's talking to you, talking back. Sometimes it makes little snarky comments. Sometimes the store appears to have opinions.
Do you have, do you design your posters and flyers?
I design all of them, yeah.
But they pop.
I'm sorry, our marketing department designs all of them.
Yes, but they do pop. You know, like they do show, you do have a brand. You know, it's obvious the way that you have, you know, your format. I recognize your stuff immediately.
When people see the poster, they know it's a Monte Cristo Bookshop poster.
Right. So these are all things you learned by promoting a band, clearly. And then how many authors do you have a week? I mean, you're always looking for authors to come in and do events.
Always.
Is that right?
Yeah, we have a big calendar.
Okay, so people, writers that are watching this, authors should contact you.
They should. Something that we do that other bookstores I don't think do, is that we give our local authors prime real estate on the calendar. You know, like you come in on a Friday night, Saturday afternoons, or Saturday night. We don't do events Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. They just any events that happen those days are something different. Right. You know, the other stuff that we do. We feel the authors should be given the same shot as the national authors. We give each of the authors our media list, which has all of our publicity contacts. We give them a complete itinerary for the structure of what we want to do.
Now, are you giving them the media contacts for them to send an additional release?
For them to send in their press release to the media contacts themselves.
Okay.
And I've seen it. Authors have developed relationships with the media because they contacted and met each other. The media gets enough from us. We're sending stuff to them all the time. No, but that's really good.
That's a really good idea that you give them your contacts. You say go with it, because clearly an author is going to be motivated to promote their stuff, to promote
absolutely.
their work.
And I tell people they can keep all the, if you make a friend off our media list, good.
Right.
That's great. You meet a guy at Norwich Bulletin or The Day or the Westerly Sun, and he becomes your friend and he's a reporter. Good. That's good. That helps you in the long run too.
Right.
But the media list is very similar to touring with bands. That's what the publicist gets from the record label. You get a media list of all the rock journalists in the area, why not send the same thing to authors?
Right. No, it's a really good idea. Do you, for authors who have no clue how to make a press release, do you give them a little format? Because some people aren't going to know how to do it.
I am surprised that an author that can write a 100,000 word book cannot come out with a 500 word press release.
It's hard to boil your stuff down to the nuts and bolts. I only really learned how to do it when I became doing public relations for college. When I was writing about other people, I could get their stuff down to a few sentences.
You can.
But getting your own stuff.
I've definitely worked with many authors as far as press release. I can tell some of them are hesitant. They go, I don't have one written. And I write back and say, I can show you some.
Right.
And I have used some author press releases that I thought were really good, and I sent it to them.
That's very helpful. So I think an author could learn a lot. Like I said, I learned a lot coming on, and to me it was a relief that you're on there asking me questions.
Yeah.
Because then
that's what we get a lot of authors saying, well, I'm happy you were there asking me questions.
Yes, because usually I plan a whole big thing, but so it's a lot more work and preparation. This way I know you're going to ask some questions, so.
Well, I went to some author events. I've been to the library events, I've gone to other bookstore events, and I have seen the authors just thrown into that pool, and I think that an author, they want to connect to their readers. but has a bookstore. We are experts at connecting to readers. That's all we do all day.
Right.
We talk about books to people buying books all day, and there's a lot that they have on their minds that maybe an author doesn't know off the top of their head. You watch some of these authors like Dennis Lehane or Stephen King. They know they can go out there and talk because they've done it so much through experience.
Right.
And so I think that when an author does their release for their book release at our store, I'm kind of asking them questions. They're going to get a lot down the road. Like, who in a movie would play your character? Questions that you just start getting.
Right.
And it's good to be prepared for it the next time around. But yeah, we've gotten. I'm pretty proud of the author program that we have for the events. And each author is definitely treated very similar. It doesn't signify on our calendar. It doesn't signify in our calendar if an author's published or where they're from.
Right.
It doesn't.
So what do you have? A couple events. Give me 2 weeks. Give me October. What do you have in October?
Well, we have a lot.
Many,
definitely have a lot. There's a couple I'm excited for.
Okay.
Next week we have Michael D. Urban. He wrote Ironsides Peril. It's a thriller about the military. It takes place on old Ironsides, but it's a modern thriller.
Okay.
The CIA, FBI, there's terrorists. They want to explode the ship. I think that's what happened, Michael. And that's exciting. I like mystery books. I like thriller books.
Okay.
So the other How to Create Stunning Digital Photography by Tony Northrup. He's actually a local guy. He wrote one of the best photography books, period,
really?
Internationally. And he's going to do a walkabout New London, and that is on October 4th. There's a couple that, there's another photographer, Till Death by Jeremy Saffer. Jeremy Saffer, he's a 32-year-old photographer from Boston. If you're a band up and coming right now, seeing him is a rite of passage for your photo shoots, absolutely. But he costs a fortune. He is so sought out. He's actually done. Yeah, he's done like Rob Schneider and Gary Busey. He's done the Misfits. He's done Megadeth. He's done Alice Cooper. And so he's very well accomplished. And that is on October 12th. He wrote a photo book. Well, write the book. He took pictures.
Right.
And it's really funny. It's called Till Death, and it's like a gothic narrative of she just rips his heart out, and she's actually ripping a heart out.
Well, it sounds fun, and like you said, and you seem to really do enjoy your authors. I had a great time doing the Schooner Festival.
Oh, Schooner Festival was great. Yeah, we had 9 authors on the pier that day.
Wow.
We were doing not all interviews. Yeah, it was. It was.
Well, I had a lot of fun.
It was a learning experience.
Yeah,
it was. But it was a success on our end, and we wanted to create an event within an event. We didn't just want to be another vendor with some authors doing this.
Right.
Because I've seen that everywhere I go, where there's author tents, which I think are great. The authors look kind of bored. Like they're, and I'm like, well, let's add some noise to this.
It's hard to just sit there. Some authors I think are really good sitting at a table. They really engage. They have props. Others,
I can't assume that for everybody.
Right, and I don't honestly enjoy sitting at a table. I'm much happier with a mic in my hand or talking.
Well, I chose authors that were specifically charismatic and engaging, that when they talk, people listen. And I chose them to put them outside the festival and a microphone. And I knew people walking by would not have a choice but to look. What is this? What's going on here?
I was laughing when you said I was so loud, and my husband's like, Lisa, you were so loud.
It's okay. And I actually aimed the speaker towards the Mystic Whaler, and they were sitting there just listening.
So I thought it was great that for once it was okay that I was too loud.
Oh yeah, it's great.
That you were happy that everybody on the ships could hear me talking.
But so I crunched 9 author events into one moment, one long day.
I heard the author before me, and that was fun. Like I said, you enjoy your authors, and you make them happy to talk about their work. So
try to.
And like I said, the publicity I think is the big thing that I think your bookstore is going to be a success.
Well, it's hard. It's hard to crack the code. It's got to be something newsworthy. But I think as far as the publishing industry, we make the news when we do something that is deemed newsworthy, and it's kind of hard to say though. I almost want to say it's roll the dice, because some of my authors get covered, and I think there's some other authors that could have did this topic.
Oh, I know you never know. I mean, I know you never know.
You definitely never know. But
do you read? How many books would you say you read a month or week, or because?
I feel like I don't read that many, and yet when I look at the list of books that I could review that I've read, say in the past 2 months, it's a lot.
Right. Like
I do feel like the bookstore honestly doesn't make me want to read anymore.
Mm-hmm.
It gives me a little feeling of guilt sometimes. Maybe I should be reading some newer books when I'm reading an older book.
Well, because you have to know when people walk into the store, right? Do they ever ask you, what should I read? Or do they ever ask your opinion?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, the other thing is that we need to pay the bills, and it is retail sales, and that's something that maybe the artists within the authors don't want to hear, but we do merchandise things. We put things in certain places so they will sell. We stock the store with what we believe our customers will buy. Our store started out as a general bookstore with the average percentages for every category. As we were selling through, we noticed the patterns. So we upped some of our categories that we were selling more of.
Okay.
Like nationwide children sells this much, but we sell this much. Nationwide history sells this much, but we sell this much. So what we did is we adjusted our ordering levels for inventory for the store, how much shelf space we have, basically.
What sells well? Like what category would you say? Or
off the top of my head, well, I tell you, our children's books would keep the bills on if we had no other books in the store.
Yeah, I have to say I've made more money selling my children's book than any other.
And we do used books too. About a quarter of our inventory are used.
Really?
We take donations from customers, from area residents that they want to donate to the bookstore. They like the calendar for whatever reason.
I thought that was a wonderful idea because people wouldn't assume that you could donate your books to a bookstore. And what better way to keep a bookstore in business that is a way you can donate to them.
And I do feel like I want to reward donors somehow. I just haven't come up with a good idea yet. Because sometimes they'll donate me 500 books I can't use.
But sometimes just that you staying in business is a reward to them because I like walking into a bookstore. And if they
I don't ask every customer why they donate. I just kind of know what happens is that I have a back room full of at least 100 boxes of books I have to go through
to figure out what's really going to sell.
To figure out what's going to sell, like kids' books. We have barely any used kids' books. All our kids' books go to the Whaletail Book Bank exclusively, and we donate to them. They go to the needy kids. Feels good for me. Maybe that's why they donate to the bookstore for that same reason. It feels good.
Right. It feels good.
But there are some bookstores. There's 2 used bookstores in the area that they could try to get a couple dollars off of. But it is a drive, and you have to go out there. We're right downtown. That's something we got going for us.
And how's parking? How has that affected you? Because you do have parking.
We have our parking lot across the street.
And what's your address?
38 Green Street. That's Monte Cristo Bookshop, 38 Green Street, New London, Connecticut. We have 15 parking spaces.
So
we did.
People need to know that.
We moved 2 blocks. There are some posters up in the old area that we were in that can direct you. So yeah.
Well, what do you like most about the books? Having the bookstore. I mean, you have your own business. Is it a headache? A fear?
It's a learning experience. Managing cash flow is difficult when you have so many credit accounts open. So definitely. When we were putting the business plan together, I was refreshing my brain on how to read a lot of the financial documents.
Right.
And what we do is we have a certain amount of credit available with every publisher that we come in contact with, and then our inventory reflects what we're borrowing from them. And we have to sell through a certain amount of time, return it, order more, return it, order more, return it, order more. So there's this constant rotation of inventory that's happening, and that is a lot of work. Let me tell you, when you're dealing with, I think 50 accounts we have open now, it gets overwhelming, and then we have the author events in the calendar that we have to order books for the author events. So instead of ordering 2 or 3 of each title, we now have to order 50 of these. They have to be here. They have to be returned much quicker than a regular order.
Wow.
So yeah, we deal with that.
Now your wife, what role does she play?
Well, we just had a baby.
I know. Congratulations.
Is it the 23rd today?
I don't know.
He'd be 3 months old on the 23rd. He was born June 23rd.
So obviously she's really busy now.
Yeah, it gives her time to be home.
But
it really does.
Come in, right?
Of course, she's in the bookstore all the time.
Okay.
But she doesn't just have to not work for 6 weeks and have to go back.
Right.
She can stay with the baby, and that's nice. I don't get as much time with the baby as I'd like because I'm at the store.
You're at the store.
And
you're open how many days a week?
We're open 6 days a week now. We take Mondays off so I can come to Comcast.
Okay. That's right. How lucky
convenient. I'm out of the store and the sun's up.
And we only have a couple minutes left. So is there anything that you wished I had asked, or something that you'd like to bring up that you think authors or readers or your customers would like to know?
Well, our treatment of local authors has been, I think, extraordinary compared to other bookstores. All local authors tell us all the time that they get rejected from independent bookstores. In other words, the independent bookstores are making a giant online retailer easier to work with than us. And we're local guys. We're right down the road. Why should we be more difficult than this huge retailer, which is killing bookstores?
Right.
I believe that authors are like any musicians, poets, any artist, is that they take a blank canvas and they put something down. Whatever their motivations are, that's why they come in and do the events. We learn these things. But whatever their motivations are is beside the point. The fact is they're artists. They're expressing themselves. And as a form of self-expression, I believe there's a certain amount of respect that should be paid to them, especially when you're a bookseller. Your job is not necessarily to critique the work of an author.
Right.
Your job is to feed your customers what they're hungry for.
Right.
And if you were to judge an author based on their editing skills, then I mean, there's some books that aren't so good. Okay, like there's a great author. My favorite authors, Jim Harrison, Irving Welsh, Cormac McCarthy. These guys, Franzen. These guys add like 12 commas. They have sentences with more than a dozen ands. Cormac McCarthy went 10 pages without using any more than one-syllable words. Okay, these things would never make it past the editing phase. It wasn't for who they are. Who am I to judge when a new author comes in and they have a stroke of brilliance in their book? It's just because I'm not a fan of it. We're all subjective here. I can't be a fan of everything.
That's kind of how I feel, because I teach classes on how to write, how to get published, and people always want me to critique their work, and I won't do that. I don't feel like that's my role in life.
Because you critique their work as a reader, but if you're an editor, you're just looking at it hard line.
Yeah, and I just, like you say, some people might have a style that I don't like at all, but somebody else could really love it, and I really feel like if you're writing true to yourself, true to your soul, you're going to connect with somebody who really needs to read it.
Yeah, well, look
and I don't want to be the person who puts a little spot on your happiness in case I don't like it, because I don't really read fiction. So you can't give me
especially
a
with fiction too.
Yeah.
I just thought of Infinite Jest. Half the readers love it. The other half can't get past page 5.
Well, same thing with Moby Dick.
And
there's a lot of great books out there.
But for an independent bookstore to just say, we reject you because you're not published, I think that is an awful decision.
But anyway, we only have like a minute left. We have to close, but I do thank you for your bookstore and for the respect that I feel you do pay authors, and the fun that I had. You had me twice with my
Seafarer's Trail.
Mystic Seafarer's Trail.
We have it in stock. Monte Cristo Bookshop, 38 Green Street.
And I liked how because I never know what to call it, and because it is history and humor, but you called it a travel memoir, and I thought that was perfect that you told me what it was.
Great.
So thank you so much for coming on my show.
Thank you for having me. Absolutely. Thank you. This was great.
I look forward to another event. Maybe I'll do my play at your store.
Great.
But anyway, thank you so much for joining us on Doers and Dreamers, and I will see you next week.
That was great.
Saunders. Welcome to my show, Dreamers and Doers.